Welcome to another session of Tech Buddies brought to you by the MPC Foundation. So today we're going to be talking about the Park Plus app or the Calgary Parking app. So essentially what this program is it's an app that lets you pay for parking when you go to any of the city streets. You know how nowadays when you go to different parts of Calgary and you park and you're required to pay for parking there, you would normally go to a machine and you'd put in your credit card and you type in the zone number and you'd pay for it that way. Well, with this particular app, you can actually pay for parking without actually having to go to the machine. You can do it directly from your phone. This is really convenient if you tend to park downtown quite often or in places where you do have to pay for parking. So like at the Science Center or the Calgary Zoo, you can also use this app for places like that. I live in the Beltline and I find this app incredibly useful because I'm parking quite often in different areas of the city. And for me, it's not as convenient to go find a pay machine as it would be to just pull out my phone to be able to pay for it that way. Not to mention with roughly 8 months of winter here in Calgary, it's so much easier when it's not negative 30 degrees to go, or when it is negative 30 degrees, not to have to go searching for a pay machine there. You can do it in your warm car, hopefully. So in order to find this app here, what you're going to do is you're going to go to the App Store on iPhone or go to the Google Play Store on Android devices, and you're going to search for MyParking. So MyParking is the Calgary Parking Authority app. So the app should look like this. It should just be a green symbol with a P made out of little cars. So if I can get everybody to find that app now, I'll give everybody a moment to actually get that installed. So whenever you're ready here. And just while I'm waiting for everybody to download it, is there anybody in the class that uses this app regularly already? Lily, you do? Oh, that's awesome. I know I'm one of those people too. Okay, I'll give everybody about 10 more seconds here. Oh, went too far. Sorry. Back. There we go. Is anybody having any issues finding the app? All right. So moving on there. So now that we've got that installed here, so what's going to happen when you first log in is it's going to look a little bit like this. And actually, this is what I was mentioning at the beginning, where the app has changed slightly from what it used to look like. I'm just going to share my iPhone screen to show you what the app looks like now. Give me 2 seconds here and I'll bring that up. So now the app actually looks like this when you first sign in. So it'll have a place for your email and your password if you've already got an account. Um, if you don't have an account with the Park Plus app, you can actually click this little button down at the bottom here. No account in a hurry, try the virtual pay machine. This one will let you go in and actually put in the zone number, your license plate, the end time that you want, and an email address. On the next screen here, it won't let me do it without actually putting it in, but in the next screen, it'll let you put in your credit card information to pay for it. So this is one way that you can use this app. So if you don't create an account, you can go to this link at the bottom here and do a one-time session there where you would pay for that particular parking session. But if you want to use the app more often, then what you can actually do is create an account. So to create an account, you just click on this button here, create account. Now, if you already use things like a residential parking permit, or if you have a program with say like the zoo or Telespark or whatnot, and you already have an account, you can actually use that account to sign into the Park Plus app. But if you don't have it, what you can do is click on the create account button at the bottom. And then what it'll do is it'll ask you for your first and last name, your email, your password, a phone number, and you can enter in your license plate number here as well. It says optional here, but realistically, you're either going to enter it here or you're going to enter it under your user profile because you do need to have a license plate saved in this app to be able to start parking. Essentially, why you would have the license plate there is so that you don't have to enter it in each time you want to start your parking session. It'll save the information in the app, so you don't have to do that. One more reason why the app is quite useful and quite quick to be able to use there. So I'm just going to actually switch back to sharing the other app here. So I'll go here and hopefully you can see that one more time. So what you're going to do again is log in or create an account. And again, this one looks a little bit older. This is the old way of doing it, but it has the same information there. So I'm not sure I can actually use many of these slides. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign in on mine and then I'll just share from my screen there. Okay, give me 2 seconds. Okay, so here is what the app is going to look like when you sign in. So I've created an account and now I've actually signed into the app. So what's going to pop up first is it's going to be a map of the city. Now, this doesn't really matter too much, except the map of the city is going to let you search around for different parts of the city where there might be parking. So for example, I'm just going to scroll over here to downtown. And you can see different numbers on there where it indicates different places where you can actually park. I don't use this particular feature all that often. What it's trying to do is it's trying to tell you ahead of time where there might be places where you can park. The only time where I think this might be useful is on a really busy day like Canada Day, for example, where there's a lot of people in a particular area and you want to find out if there is parking available before you leave. Yes, Elaine.
What does this 10 plus means?
So let me zoom in a little bit on one of these 10 pluses. So notice how it turned to 5. Essentially what that means is different zones. It's just grouping them all together. So if you were to go into like, this is on 3rd Avenue here, just past 3rd Street. Just next to, actually, what is this next to? Actually, I don't know what that's next to. Anyways, yeah, so essentially that's just different parking zones on the different parts of the street. So if I zoom out, instead of having all these little P's there, it groups it into these big 5s, or if you zoom out even farther, it'll group it into even bigger numbers there to make it a little bit easier to see on the map. So to get more detail, you just have to zoom in.
Another question,
yeah.
If we do not have an account, we use the virtual pay machine thing, and then go in there, and there is the Park Plus virtual pay machine, and you put in your license plate, your Park Zone, and so on. If you don't put anything, if you press the next button, I guess they won't let you go into start section. Is that correct?
That's correct. So if you don't put in the zone number and your license plate and a few other pieces of information, you can't go into the payment screen. Because essentially different zones in Calgary, different parking zones have different rates associated with them. So they need to know what zone you're actually in order to be able to charge the correct parking amount. The other thing too is that different zones have different time limits as well. So some zones may only be 30 minutes long, some may be 2 hours long, some could be 4 or even 9 hours long, depending on where you're actually parking. So before you can start a session, you do need to know which zone you're in. So speaking of which, now if you wanted to start a parking session, what you would actually do is you would click on Start Parking Session at the bottom here. Now, what this means is you're going to be asked to enter in the zone number that you're close by. So this particular zone number is going to be listed on the telephone poles or the poles that are within that parking area. So here's one that I was in the other day where it was 4057 listed on the pole. So this is on 11th Street between 14th Ave and 15th Ave on the west side. So you can see that the duration of this particular zone is 2 hours. And luckily, being Saturday, apparently the zone here is free. There's no cost associated with it. But if you were in a zone that had like a cost with it, this would actually change to whatever the cost associated with this zone would be. Now, one of the cool things about this app as well is that when you pay for it, you can actually turn on and turn off your parking session, and you'll only end up paying for the time that you are in that zone. So if you're in a 2-hour zone, but you only end up using 30 minutes, you can actually stop your parking session and only get charged for 30 minutes on here, which is really good. So to do that, I'm just actually going to start this one there. So I'm going to pretend like I'm in this particular zone. So it'll ask me if this is correct. So I'll click continue. So it says successful. I am now listed as parked in this zone here. And it gives me a time limit for how much time I have left to be able to park in this zone there. If I want to end it, I'll just click on the end parking session button, the big red button in the middle. So end parking session, and it'll confirm yes. And then it'll give me a recap of the cost associated with parking in that session there. So in this case, it was $0 to park in that session, but it could have been any amount that they were charging for that particular day. I know on times like Sunday or after 6 p.m., you usually don't have to use this app because those are times where parking is free anyways, but there are still a few zones in Calgary where you do have to pay for it, even if it is Sunday or after 6. I know the Mountain Equipment Co-op parking lot is like that, where it's looked after by the city, but it's still a private parking lot, so they do charge for that. Now, in this app, what you can do is you can actually upload your information for your vehicle. Now, earlier I talked about how you could do that by inputting your license plate when you first created an account. You can also do that up at the top right-hand corner there. So this icon here, this is going to be your profile information. So if you click on that, what it's going to have is a few pieces of information. One is it's going to have your name. Underneath that, it's going to have your account balance. So if you have any money on your account, it will be listed there. Below that will be a button to add funds to your account. This one's really important because you do need to prepay your account before you can use it. And then below that is a place where you can manage your account. So if I click on manage account here, I'll have details like my profile, my credit card info, if I have any phone numbers connected to it, and any license plates connected to it. So if you want to go in and check your license plate, you can actually click on that plate button, and it'll tell you the type of vehicle and the license plate that you have for that one there. Phone numbers, same sort of thing. It'll give you that credit card information. So I won't go into it just because I know I'm sharing screen here, but it'll go over the information for your credit card. Same with profile as well. So if you wanted to go and add funds to your account, so right now I'm just under $20 in my account there, but what you can do is you can click this add funds button here in the top right-hand corner, and it will actually ask you to select an amount that you want to add to your account. So depending on what you're looking to add, you can go as little as $25 all the way up to $1,000 in your account. I don't park nearly enough in places where I need to pay for it that I typically would put $1,000 in, but I usually like to keep around $20, $25 in my account, just so I have something available to me. Once you've done that, you can click the add funds button and it will actually ask for your credit card information. One thing that you can do though to save time though is if you click on manage payment information down here at the bottom, you can enter in your credit card information so that you don't have to type it in each time you actually add funds to your account. So that's what I have done. Just because I use it quite often, I have to add money to my account regularly. I just find that having a credit card saved in here is quite useful. Up at the top left-hand corner, I'll just share another bit of information here. If you click on the top left here, you can get back to the start and parking session. So again, that brings you back to this section here where you can see the map and the button at the bottom where you can start a parking session. If I click again back in this top left-hand corner here, so this part here, so it's going to open up there. Another thing I can do is park a friend. So say you have somebody visiting from another city and you're traveling with them in their vehicle. You want to hopefully give them a parking spot and you've got money on your account and you don't want them to pay for parking. You can actually go into this park a friend spot. And what it'll do is it will give you a part that says start a friends session at the bottom instead of start a session. And through there, you can do the exact same thing as if you had your own, where you can enter in the zone number. It will ask you for a license plate, so you can enter in their license plate, whatever the duration is for that particular zone, and then you can start that session. So just like you do for your own vehicle. So this can be nice if you want to be a good friend to somebody and pay for their parking, or if you have family visiting from out of town and they maybe have like a rental vehicle or something like that. This is a quick way that you can actually help them pay for parking as well. So I'm just back on here. So to get out of here, just click back on Start End Session at the top. See the difference at the bottom where it says Start Parking Session here versus Start Friends Session when you're on the other one there. If you ever have any questions as well,
Ryan,
top left, yeah.
how do you get out again? Can you repeat that?
So if you're in this start a friends session here,
Yeah.
So by clicking in this top left-hand corner,
Okay. All right.
that will pop open this window here. What you want to click from here is just start end session. That will bring you back to the main screen here.
Okay.
And you can see at the bottom here where it says start parking session versus start friends session. So if it says start parking session, that means it's on your account or it's parking your vehicle, I guess. Any questions on this part so far? Yes.
Yeah. When you do this, you have to have data or internet with your phone before you can do that, is it?
You do, yes. So this is one of these apps where you do need to actually have data ahead of time to be able to start or end a session. The reason why you need data is to start a session, you need data to essentially tell Calgary Parking that you're starting the session, to essentially register yourself. But then on the other side, you need data to end that session. Because if you don't have your data turned on, you can't end the session and you'll end up just getting charged parking till the end of your duration. So you want to make sure that you do have it turned on when you start it, and you want to have it turned on when you end it. In between, you don't have to have it on though. It's just when you start and when you end it. Now, something else that I'll just mention really quickly here. So I'm just actually going to start this session one more time here. So I've gone in and I've started a session in this particular zone here. So again, I entered in zone 4057. Now it says max 2 hours for this zone. Let's say I was out doing something, I got really caught up and I ended up driving away without ending my parking session. This parking session will automatically end after the time period for it. So after 1 hour and 59 minutes, in this case 30 seconds, this parking session will automatically end whether I'm there or not. So essentially different zones in Calgary only let you park for a particular amount of time. Now, that can be okay for a zone like this where it's free. I don't really care because I'm not going to pay anything anyways. But if you're in a zone where you are getting paid, or sorry, where you are getting charged, it can be a little bit more expensive to forget to end your parking session because you're going to get charged the full time for you being there. So if this was like a zone where it charged me $5 to park for 2 hours, if I forgot to turn that off, then I would end up getting charged the full $5. But if I did remember to turn it off, say I only parked for an hour, in that case, it might only charge me $2.50. So again, it's prorated for how long you're actually in the particular zone for. So don't forget to go in and actually end your parking session. Don't worry though, if you do forget, I've done it lots of times too. It's a little bit of a painful lesson and it's a little expensive to do it, but yeah, it happens to all of us, so no worries at all. So remember, click that end session.
Okay, one more question. What happens if you are parking there, you need another 30 minutes? That means you have to end it and then start a new one?
Yeah, so good question on that. In olden days, what you do is you run back out to your car and put more money in the meter to get it to go back up again. But with this one, what you can do is if you need more time, so let's say you did a 2-hour session, but you are actually going to be there for 3 hours, close to the end of the 2-hour session, or you can even wait till the 2 hours expires. You can just start that parking session again. And then you can continue being parked there. So what's good about the app is if you're in a building or something like that, you can just do it from the app. You don't have to go back out to your vehicle to reset that parking session.
Okay.
So any questions with anything else on this part so far?
Question.
Yeah.
You mentioned about if the maximum allowed is 2 hours, and then after 2 hours, if you do not end your section, then they will charge you for 2 hours, and your section ends, they won't charge you anything, but your car's still there. But if it is a paid zone, like on a weekday where maximum 2 hours, but you don't pay any extra money after 2 hours, and you forgot to end your section, your car's still there, they can give you a ticket. Is that right?
Totally. That's absolutely right. So think of the parking app as being the same thing as going out and paying the parking meter. So if your meter is expired, then they're going to be able to give you a ticket if you're still parked in that area.
But
So
they
the park
can
wall-
charge you, they won't charge you anything more because that is only for 2 hours. So after 2 hours, you didn't end your section. If you're lucky, they may not give you a ticket.
I mean, if they happen to catch you in that area, they might give you a little bit of leeway, but likely you would probably get a ticket if you were still parked there after the time period.
Okay.
So
Oh,
different parts of the city actually have different time zones. So 2 hours is a very common one, but some zones actually only have 20 minutes, usually loading zones for 20 minutes. Some have only 30-minute zones, some are 2 hours, some I've seen up to 4 hours and some for even longer. So depending on which zone you're in, make sure to check the like in the app, you can actually check to see how long the zone is. So for instance, I'm just going to go up here. This is next to Eau Claire. Here's this particular zone right here. So if I was actually next to it, I would be able to read on the sign what zone that was. But if I click on that, it'll tell me what the details of that particular zone are. So in this case, it tells me the cost associated with it. So in this case, Monday to Friday, between 9 and 11, the first 15 minutes is free, and then $4.75 an hour. So like I can actually go and learn more about this. If I was to click start session there, you can see that this particular zone, it's a 2-hour duration in this one. And for the full 2 hours, I would get charged $1.75 to park there. So if I only used it for, say, 15 minutes, I would actually get it for free based on the other information. But if I used it for 16 minutes, or if I used it for longer, up to 2 hours, then I would get charged more money, up to $1.75. So if you were to park here and you started this session, but you forgot to turn it off, and after 2 hours, that would automatically turn off because that's the duration of this zone. So you wouldn't get charged any more than $1.75. But if you were still parked there and you forgot to reset it, then you potentially could get a parking ticket. So just make sure that you keep an eye on this. If it's a 2-hour zone and you're going to be there for longer, don't forget to go back into it and start your parking session again so that you don't get any tickets.
Another question. So for example, the one that you just mentioned is only for 2 hours. But if I want to park more than 2 hours, that means after 2 hours, I have to go in and pay more money, or do I have to really physically move my car?
So I'm thinking that the parking people don't want you to be there for more than 2 hours. That's why they say 2 hours. I don't know if they enforce that. I think if you've paid, you're good. So I think you just need to go into the app and reset it. I don't think you need to move your car.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? And again, there's lots of parking spots around here. If I go down to Memorial Drive here, say if I wanted to go to the zoo, so here's one at the zoo, and you can actually look up the information for the zoo, and then it'll actually tell you kind of what the details are for that one. So this is a good way to kind of pre-plan your route and where you're going to park and what the cost is going to be. But even if you don't do this on the map, when you get to the zoo, it'll give you the parking zone, or if you get to any parking place that's done by the city of Calgary, it will tell you the zone, and you can type in that parking number by clicking on start parking session and then just typing in the zone. So like, maybe not 1, 2, 3, 4 is not a correct zone. I don't actually know one off the top of my head, but anyways, you can just type in the zone number and it'll give you all the information for that zone as well. So you don't have to go to it on the map first. So I'm just gonna.
What if
yeah.
you park in zone 1, 2, 3, 4, but when you go to the map, you thought that was 1, 2, 3, 4, but it is 2, 3, 5, 6, and then you pay the city, and you said I'm parked on in zone 1, 2, 3, 4, then you probably get a ticket because in 2, 3, 5, 6 you didn't pay.
So I'm pretty sure that they would still be able to give you a ticket for that. So if you put in the wrong zone number, and you ended up putting in like somewhere else in the city, they might still give you a ticket. And the reason why is, again, different zones have different prices, different zones have different durations. So they're probably going to give you a ticket if you're not registered for that particular zone. This is one more reason why I don't usually like using the map ahead of time. I usually like going to the particular area that I'm going to park in, and then just looking up at the street sign to understand what zone it is and typing it at that point. That way, I know I'm going to be correct and I'm not going to enter in the wrong zone number.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah.
Now, the other thing with the Park Plus app is that this is only for City of Calgary parking. So again, you need to look for that Park Plus logo. If you are going to one of the other privately owned parking areas like MPark, they don't use this app. They might use their own app, or they might have a pay machine that you end up having to pay with. So you can only use this app when you are at City of Calgary parking areas.
Ryan, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so normally I don't use this app. I use my phone to start section and finish. So I know the parking, the fee zone, they still charge me $1 each time I activate for parking. So I never use the phone to activate, because I want to continue until I leave. So I
Yeah.
don't have to worry about renew it. So do they actually charge you nothing on the app if on the fee zone?
Yeah, so if you were to park in an area where it was like free for more than like the duration there. So for instance, if you were to set up parking on Sunday, Sunday's free parking for everybody. What it would actually do is it would you can register. You don't have to because it's Sunday, but you could register, and the time would actually show as like 24 hours on the duration, and it would probably show $0 for how much it would cost you. So that's actually a really good question. And if you are in a free fare or a free zone, then you won't pay anything with the app.
Okay,
So
thank
you can register it through here, and you'd still be safe.
Question, if it is a free day, like Sunday, if I park my car, I wouldn't even go in and start section and end section because you don't pay anyway.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
won't give you a ticket.
Yeah, exactly. So on days like Sunday, you don't need to worry about that. Where I've used it before on free days is like yesterday, for instance, Good Friday. I know that parking was pretty much free throughout the city there, but I wasn't quite sure. So I still went in and registered my Jeep, only because it only takes 2 seconds to do. And also, just in case there was a cost associated with it, I wanted to make sure that I was registered. But I know that it was a free day, so I probably didn't need to do that. But what it does is it gives you the option to be able to do it if you choose. So
Okay.
I'm going to go back to sharing the presentation. So I'm going to skip past a bunch of these slides here because we've gone through all that information here. Let's see. Yeah, the old one has all these things, but we talked about that. I think actually that is the end of going through the application there. So was there any part of that? Because I know this is a little bit different than how I would normally present the content there. Normally I would go through the slides and it's maybe a little bit easier to see and visualize. I wanted to, because I didn't have the most up-to-date pictures, I wanted to use the actual app to show you what it looked like, just so you would be comfortable with what you'd see when you actually downloaded it. But was there anything else that anybody else had any questions on, like adding funds or like paying for a spot, or even just logging in? Or does that seem pretty comfortable?
I'm okay. Thank you.
Awesome. So excellent. Well, in that case, so what are some of the, I won't do a mini quiz today because it's a little bit different for the questions, but what are some of the options that MyParking offers? So you can find parking for yourself. So you can park yourself, you can pay for parking without going to the machine. And you can also find parking for a friend. So if you are traveling with them and you want to pay for their parking, you can go into the little option in the top left-hand corner and then click Park a Friend. And actually do it for them. So that one's really useful. So now that we're finished with learning about the Park Plus app or the parking app, Calgary Parking app, I should say, we're going to go into the breakout rooms with volunteers. And that'll give you more of an option to ask questions or learn about the app called Flip, which they're going to be talking about in